Coaches, how you doing? My name is PJ Gibbs. I'm the defensive coordinator at Palmetto Ridge High School in Naples, Florida. Honored and privileged to be asked by Coach McKee to give this presentation, and hopefully you guys will get something out of it. Today we're going to talk about two specific things. We're going to talk about pressures out of the 4-3 and variations of that, and then we'll talk about game planning defensively. I'm also the author of two books I wrote over the quarantine period, The Right Defense for Your Program, Volume 1, and also The Right Defense for Your Program, Volume 2. These are actually chapters 3 and 4 of the book for Volume 2. We get a little bit into it. Obviously, there's more game planning things. I kind of highlight some stuff as well as the 4-3 and some practice competition things. But I hope you guys get something out of it. And just to give you a quick background on myself, and then we'll get rolling into football here. I graduated from Manasquan High School in 1997. I played football. I played linebacker at St. Peter's College, which is actually St. Peter's University now in Jersey City, New Jersey. Is a small FCS school. Most of the teams, including St. Peter's, discontinued football a long time ago. And I started coaching linebackers at my alma mater right out of high school. And I worked under some great coaches. I was honored to work under my head coach, who's a Hall of Famer in New Jersey, and Coach Joe Martucci, who was a Hall of Famer at Matawan. He actually gave me my first coordinator job at 26 years old back in 2006. And so I was at Manasquan. We have 12 state championships in our program. And, I was asked to be the defense coordinator, applied and interviewed for my first DC job in 2006 at Matawan High School, was there for 3 seasons, and then went back to Manasquan as the D-line coach in 2009, and then worked my way up to be the coordinator in 2011 and taking over the secondary. And I have one more stop in New Jersey. Former teammate of mine at Manasquan, Luke Sinkhorn, took the head job at Howell. So in 2014, I left to become the assistant head coach in DC there and try to help him build that. And had an opportunity to come down to Florida. 2015, I was at Gulf Coast High School for 3 seasons as the co-DC, and we won the first district championship in the history of the school down here. And then I was asked to interviewed for the coordinator job at Palmetto Ridge. I'm starting on my 3rd season there, and I had an opportunity to be involved in USA football since 2008. I'm a master trainer currently, and I present to coaches all over the country. And I've been a head coach and assistant coach for the national team program since 2016, and playing in AT&T Stadium and winning international bowl championships the last 3 years. So it's been a great experience, and I've had a lot of people give me some opportunities, and I can't thank them enough for that. So I'll get into some football stuff now and kind of talk about the 4-3 and how we pressure out of it and kind of a little history of it. So the 4-3 defense, we at Manasquan generally we were very conservative in our play calling defensively. We want to keep everything in front of us, just keep simple. And as I got studied the defense more and kind of got out on my own at a young age, I kind of wanted to be a little bit more aggressive in that. So some of the things that I did early on in my career to kind of build off of the things that I learned from my head coach and my position coach Jay Price and my defensive coordinators Pete Cahill and Don Reed. So like I said, it's been a process coming. And so I'll go to the first one, which is one that we would run in the red area. This is my Twitter. If you guys want to reach out to me and DM me if you have any questions, if you want to Zoom, done a bunch of these over the quarantine. I'd love to help you guys out any way I can. So the first pressure is fire. So we have a couple different ones. First one we'll talk about is fire. And fire, the kids heard fire. They know fire. The pressure is coming from the inside. The ends know that they are the peel-contained players. The inside 2 interior guys know they're pinching the A gaps. Now, this is out of cover 0 against spread. Obviously, a 6-man pressure. You're sending 6. They got 5 to block you. I don't know a whole lot of high school running backs in my career that really like to block consistently. In this case, the Mike would have them. We'd like this in the red area inside the 20 or a short yardage situation, obviously, against a spread team. And then the way you can disguise it for buzz, which is our cover 1 term, is on the snap, you can move the mic out to cover the slot, and then we would run like a 1 double. So that means that free safety now would double the slot to help the mic out because he'd be the most vulnerable in coverage, and the ends knew that they were peel-contained players, and obviously the end of the back would know that he's now a quarterback player. So that's kind of like our variations inside the red zone and short yardage against spread teams. I love this against 10 personnel. Obviously, when you add a wide in the mix, you're adding an extra gap. So it's kind of determine how you're going to call things in the game if you're going to see a heavy 11 personnel team. I love this blitz. Learning as a young coach and building relationships at the high school and collegiate level. I got this from when Coach Don Brown, who's at Michigan now, is at Boston College. He ran this a bunch against Notre Dame when they played up there in Fenway. So we call this pirate, and we black is our cover zero, buzz is our cover one or one double variation. I love this against zone read teams. I like this against wing T teams. The coaching points here are that that Will is that inside zone dive player. He's got to go hard and make the quarterback pull the ball, and then depending on what package you're in. So if you're in your base, which in this case this would be our tight front, is how that you want that Mike to play the quarterback. Do you want him in like a pup technique where he's just gonna try to keep that quarterback in front of him and wait for the cavalry, or do you have a dude there that you're confident just gonna go ahead and hit the quarterback and you're okay with them in an open field tackle situation, which in the most part in the 4-3, that's what you have as a Mike linebacker. So and again, so cover zero for us in this case. The buck will have the back. So in a sense, you really have 6 guys on the dive, one guy on the quarterback. If you wanted to run pirate switch, you would make the Mike or the inside defender the dive player, and the outside defender the quarterback player. So that's kind of a variation with the responsibilities, because we're all in giving quarterbacks different looks. And then if you wanted to run like a one double concept, you'd have to do it to the side of the buck, where now the buck is now going to go out and cover the slot, and then that safety drop and would help double or bracket that slot, because again, that guy's the most vulnerable in coverage. But again, I love this against the zone read. It's been really successful for us. The next blitz I love against the wing T, even though it's up against the spread. I love this against the wing T. This for us, we call this black Sinbad. And, we do not run any variation. If we're running this is how we're doing it. The Will is in coverage. He's taking the inside away. He has no help. And this is great against inside zone, against spread, against the wing T. This is great against belly. This is great against trap or boot or waggle. We've had a lot of success on this. That nose getting across the center's face and the Mike hitting the A gap. And again, you're going to always do it to the weak side. You're always going to do it to the 2-man surface. Even if they have the tight wing there, that end's going to rip outside the wing, and the wing's got to make a choice, especially if they're going to run belly. Because we know in the wing T that these guys, wherever you line up, they have specific rules on, are they going to cross block, are they going to down block, are they going to run that down G scheme, down kick. So if you hit this on the run, on the snap, and like I said, in the passing situation, if you think waggle's coming off buck sweep, it's a great pressure. But we've had a lot of success with this against spread and against wing T teams. And the great thing about against the spread team is that you're overloading the side of the back, which is generally the man protection side. So somebody's got to come free. That back's got to make a choice. All right, but again, this pressure is awesome. I love this against the wing T, and I love this against the spread. Okay, so a variation or the complement to fire is smoke. So smoke, the kids hear smoke, it's O, so they know the pressure's coming from the outside and everybody's pinching inside. Okay, the Mike has the back in this we're in black, we're in cover zero. And again, red zone, short yardage. The Will would be the quarterback player in this case, because he's at the side of the back. Again, now if you wanted to go one double, you take the Mike out, have him on the slot, and double with whatever safety you want to do. But again, short yardage situation, very aggressive. Again, you almost look like a 6-1 in a sense, just like you did in fire, depending on where you want to work the depth and things like that. But again, red zone, inside the 20, inside the 10, short yardage, smoke and fire, we've had a lot of success with. Okay. We put this in. We had at Mattawan, we had a lot of athletes in the back, and we had safeties that were very, very good open field tacklers. So this is basically smoke, except instead of the outside backers now, this is we call it sniper, because it's the safeties knew they heard sniper, they knew they were going off the edge. Again, the side of the back, they were going low to high to the quarterback, and then the safety away from the back knew he just had a free run. Just don't get beat outside. How we played this coverage, we played it a couple different ways. We played zero, where the Will and the Buck would cover the slots. We would banjo it with the corners and the outside backers. So backers would take inside, corners would take outside. That way we're not running into each other. You can get a buzz concept, because the Will technically is like a nickel almost, where you could bring the mic out and double somebody, run that one double buzz concept. But this is like if you want your athletes going and getting after somebody, I love this blitz. We had two safeties that were like 5'7". One was a state champion wrestler. The other one was just a freak athlete, and they loved it. They loved going and blitzing, and you can get variations off of this where now the ends go outside and the safeties go inside, just depending on how you want to game plan it. But I really like it, and it gets the kids excited because the secondary gets involved in the pressure scheme. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is game planning for your opponent. Again, this is chapter 4 of the second book, the volume 2, the right defense for your program. It's myself, Adam Harvey from Hutto High School in Hutto, Texas, and Eric Kaspowitz, who's the head coach at Pine Richland High School in PA. We talk about, as coordinators, what do we do to get ready for a game? And I'll kind of go through some things that we do as a staff, and kind of roles that everybody has. And I think it's imperative that you delegate roles as a person in leadership, and don't assign something that you wouldn't do yourself. I think that's a sign of a great leader, is that you have high expectations. I have high expectations for our coaching staff, and I would never tell a coach to do something that I haven't done as an assistant coach. So the first thing we do is obviously, in the age of technology, we have the huddle assist or whatever. I'm still old school. I'll get the huddle report and highlight stuff and look at them. But I use a scouting sheet that's down and distance, and I keep a folder. I have a file cabinet for the last 5 years I've been in Florida, a folder on every opponent. So if we played an opponent since 2015, I have our scouting report, our play cards, our scout cards, and then our scouting report, and then our call sheet from every game. Because again, if you have the same coaching staff, you're going to have consistency. It's just when you get a new coach in there, that's kind of like where you will look back to see if they're going to do anything similar. But again, a lot of guys want to come in, and if they were a heavy run team, they're going to be an RPO team, and so on and so forth. So we'll use a scouting sheet very similar to the one on the screen here. First down column, second down column, third down column, fourth down column, and we'll go back and look at the percentages, and then we'll kind of formulate everything from there. So, what we'll do on a Saturday is we'll meet as a staff. We'll review the film from Friday night. We'll have everything graded by position. We'll discuss the grades and ways we need to get better for the week. I'll do the stats. Each position coach will. We use the USA Football Advanced Tackling System. We use the 5 fights. If that's something you guys are interested in, please, when you watch this, please hit me up. I'm more than happy to go through how we do things. And then what will happen is, after all that's done and the grading's done, our head coach will come in and we'll watch the game with him. And we'll talk about, what we discussed, what we saw, how we can get better. And then we'll begin the tendency breakdown of, the prior weeks. And, we'll generally have everything done, before we get into the room. Every coach has an assignment for when we get scout film, who's going to put in the formation, who's going to do the down and distance, who's going to do the passing plays. And, that way, once we hit Saturday, we're hitting the ground running. We're not wasting time doing that while we're there. And then we'll formulate the scouting report. We'll get everything up on the whiteboard and how we're going to play things. And I'll get the scouting report ready before we leave. And then every coach will get a copy. And then that's the stuff we'll hand to the players on Monday. But everybody will have a say in what they feel, how we should attack certain things. And also they'll have a delegated role into input into huddle. And then also, obviously into plans for practice for the week. Continuing with the responsibilities for your staff. The goal is to, and Monday we meet after school with the players. This is a kind of example for what we'll do for Monday. And then, we'll discuss alignment assignments for that practice as we're formulating for the practice for the week. I'm a big fan of it. If you're doing a new drill that's different than your everyday stuff, when you meet with your players, discuss it in that meeting so you don't waste time on the field. We'll talk to our kids about, hey, the secondary, we'll go through our EDDs, our everyday drills, and then, hey, we're going to throw this in, and this is how we're going to do it. And if I try to get some type of visual, because kids, for the most part, are visual learners, to show them an example. And then we'll go through that. And that way we're not wasting time teaching on the field. We'll have a name for the drill. So I think that's a huge coaching point, is make sure you teach it before you do it. That way you're not wasting time, because, again, you're only going to get 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even 10, depending on what the offense wants to do and things like that. And then we'll hand the scattering reports out, and then we'll go over with the kids. Okay, listen, this week in 10 personnel, we're going to line up in this, draw that. And we'll have the kids draw it on the scattering report. Okay, now we're in 11. We're going to check to this, draw this, and this is the coverage behind it. What are the calls? Write down the calls. We'll use those responsibility columns as well. So when we leave to go to practice, everybody knows what's going on for the week. And again, if we get a team that's very multiple, we'll concentrate on, hey, we're going to do 10 and 11 personnel Tuesday. We're going to do 12 personnel goal line Wednesday, and obviously walk through Thursday. And we'll introduce really only one formation on Monday, that formation that has the most percentages of what they do out of it. We'll spend the most time on that on Monday, because it's again, Monday for us is an uppers day. So, we'll get a lot of walkthrough on cans and run fits and things like that. So I think that's invaluable. The more you can walk through and tell the kids where they need to fit on certain run plays and where they fit on the pass or a pressure and what you expect out of them, then there leaves no gray area. It's this is what we're doing, and this is what my expectation is. And then everybody's on the same page, speaking the same language as a coaching staff. Okay, so getting into Monday, we're on the field. We walk through barrels. We'll walk through all our pressure packages. We'll do a team, kind of fit tackling circuit, and depending on how we grade it out. Again, that's more of an advanced tackling thing that we do. We'll based on our tackling grades and how we tackled, that's how we'll set up our tackling for the week. Or based on who we're facing, what type of back or quarterback or a receiver, we'll tailor those tackling drills for those positions based on how we think we're going to be successful. We'll hit an individual period. We'll do inside run, one-on-ones, 2-on-2s, and we'll get on to 7-on-7, and then 1-on-1 for the O-line, D-line. But we try to get as much best on best as possible. And again, we keep our running back up. We don't hit our quarterback. We're thud. We don't take anybody to the ground. But we want to make sure everybody's fitting. And again, I know that our all-area defensive end can beat the JV offensive tackle. I know that. I don't need to see that in practice. I want our all-area defensive end to go up against our all-area offensive tackle, because that's how we're going to get better. So that's kind of, what we've done and changed things over the last 2 years is we've shortened the periods, but we've gotten more quality reps, and it's really helped us, going on as we gotten further into the season. Okay. One thing I want to bring up before I get into the game responsibilities is when you're doing your pressure stuff. One thing I actually learned this from Coach Davis down here at FIU. They did like a meet and greet with a bunch of the coaches, and I asked him. I said, when you were with the Cowboys, and at Miami, what is one thing that defensively that you've taken with you everywhere you went with the Browns and the Carolina and all this stuff? And he said, he goes, Coach, he goes, doing a pressure period, but making it a conditioning period. So you line up and you run your pressure package, and you have a coach 10 yards in the middle, 10 yards on the right, 10 yards on the left, and you're snapping the ball, you're running through the pressure, and you're throwing it to one of those coaches, and they got to run and get on the pursuit angle. And then you put the ball on the hash or the middle of the field. And then if you have different packages, everybody else is on the sideline. So now you can run guys on and off as you would in a game. And then what we started doing towards the middle of the season last year was we said, okay, to our offenses, listen, let's do situation 2-minute, and let's turn it into a pursuit period, but you guys can work on your 2-minute, but we're working on our pressure. And we got a lot better from that. I recommend that highly. So game night responsibilities, I think first and foremost is communication with your staff. What is your expectation of the coach in the press box, the guys on the field? What's your expectation? And that stuff should be talked about in spring football if you have it, or preseason before you even get on the field. And use your call sheet as your guide. And I'll show you a sample call sheet in the next slide. Trust your guys. Like, when they come off the field, I know we got huddle sideline, these big TVs and stuff, but what are your kids seeing? Hey, coach, I'm seeing this. I really think this would work. And, I think it's great that, that they're suggesting things to you, because that means they've studied their film. They know the game plan. They know what they're trying to do. And also remember, there's going to be adversity. There's going to be a time where somebody's going to break off a 50-yard run or complete a slant for 60. They're going to look to you as the coach to see how you react. So, if you're throwing a clipboard or you're chucking something, don't get mad when they throw a helmet or something like that, because they're watching to see how you react. And I've learned that over the years as a younger coach now, as someone that's been older and more experienced. I think that's a vital part of coaching. Only call what you coached. Don't try to come up with this wild thing that you saw on, Thursday Night Football that the Ravens are running. And, because again, at the end of the day, it's a reflection on you as a teacher. So, stay with your game plan, make adjustments, and that's the kind of stuff that you talk to and you walk through in practice. Hey, if they come out, we've seen them do this in trips. This is what we're going to check to. Does anybody have any questions on that? If someone has a question, you walk through it. Coverage, pressure, whatever it's going to be. But then they know that, hey, this may be an adjustment, and then reiterate to them in pregame and things like that. Put your players in the best position to be successful. I can't stress that enough. It's from your scheme to your calls to, what you're doing. They're going to do what you've coached them to do. If they miss a tackle, you got to work on tackling. I tell my guys all the time, we're going to put you in the best position to be successful, to make a play. You need to make it. And if you can't make it, we're in the production business. We're going to find somebody that does. And I think honesty is a lost art in our society today. I think the more honest and forthright you are with these kids, I think you're setting them up for success in the future. Be ready to make adjustments and be confident in your adjustments. I think 2 times last year, after the games, we were down a little bit and we made adjustments, and I had kids come up to us at the end of the game. They were like, Coach, we were waiting for that. We were waiting for you guys to do something and fix this. And we fixed it and we did great. And, it's great to see them happy and successful. Demand greatness from your players, demand greatness, and also from your coaches. Don't let up, because the minute you let up, if you give them an inch, you're going to take a mile. I know that's an old adage. But I think, you want to set the expectations high. Especially if you're building a program. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to be playing the last weekend of the season and playing for a state title, but, celebrate every victory. You've worked hard all week. When you make a great play, celebrate that, because that means you've executed what you've learned. I think we get lost in the material things in our society. And, like I said, I think demanding greatness from your players, because again, at the end of the day, we're molding these guys to be great leaders, great young men, husbands and fathers down the road, so they can take these life lessons like we all have. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think that's going to be something that they are going to take with them for the rest of their lives. And desire to excel, not the fear to fail. Coach Scott Frost said this, I think a couple years ago, and I think I'm sure he does still say this, but I think you have to pick and choose when you want to be on a guy. There's 2 types of kids, right? Pete Rose said this, a kid that you can pat on the butt and a kid you can kick in the butt. There's no in between. So I think knowing that psychological part of the game, I think that's going to help you, go in a very positive direction, because again, there's kids in different situations, kids that don't have a father figure at home or living with grandma, and they need that kick in the butt. And then there's the kid that, gets reamed at home. So he needs kind of more like the arm around type thing after, and one of the other ones is, Coach Bruce Arians, coach him hard, hug him after. I'm a huge fan of that. If you're going to coach a kid up and you're going to get after a kid, and you make sure that you're walking over when that drill's over and talking to that kid and tell him, hey, listen, I believe what you can do. If I'm not coaching you, that means that there's something wrong. And my high school coach, Vic Cabu, was like that. If he got on us, that next break, he was over saying, hey, listen, you need to do this to get better. And I believe you can do it. So those are the things that, we talk about as our game night responsibilities. And then again, the last slide is a sample of the call sheet that I've used over the years. Generally, the way I break this down, I'm a very color-coded guy because obviously in the heat of the battle and things get rolling, you can only do so much. So 1st and 10, and you guys can see the down and distance and the personnel, and I'll put the numbers of the kids who are in that personnel. The columns, the down and distance columns are at the last column, and everything will be run pass percentage. So goal line, 4th down, 3rd and short, 3rd and long, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 7, 1st and 10. The last column will be run this percentage, pass this percentage. And then the other columns with their top plays on those downs, run and pass. And then obviously our fronts and stunts, and then our pressures. And then in the blank at the bottom, I'll put, our depth chart, who's in, the substitutes, if this guy goes down. And then that right column will be any type of trick plays or sudden change plays. So like if our offense turns the ball over, what do they like to call? Are they going to call a reverse? Are they going to go deep? Are they going to run toss pass? Are they just going to run the ball? So that way our kids are prepared for boom, sudden change. And we practice that during the season. When we do a team period, I'll tell our quarterback, hey, I don't want you to do this in the game, but I want you to throw an interception. Okay. And then that way we can work on sudden change for us and sudden change for our offense as well. Okay. So guys, I hope this helps you out. Again, I thank Coach McKee for having me do this for the website, and please reach out to me with any questions. Thank you.